Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Joe and Joe Weather Show. Joe Rayo on the left. I'm Joe Chaffee on this Monday, the 26th of April. The month is winding down to a precious few days, in the Joe and Joe Weather Show, brought to you by Omni True Value Hardware, and they've got mulch, and they are ready for you to come over with your truck and pick it on up, or send your landscaper over to pick it up. 1226 North Wellwood Avenue in West Babylon, on Long Island in southwestern Suffolk County, 631-756-1125. And in these inflationary times, it's good to know that OmniTrueValue.com has the best and lowest prices in town, even lower than the big box stores. And the website is OmniTrueValue.com. Also brought to you by Wholesale Holiday Lighting by Giannini at 162 Ocean Avenue in Lindenhurst, your complete holiday lighting specialist, meeting all your decorating needs, or maybe you want to become a decorator yourself during the holiday season and do people's houses. Well, give them a call, 631-957-5106, and the website is liholidaylighting.com. Okie dokie. So, uh, looking ahead to the week, I think the big question is whether we get a little bit of a backdoor front and on Thursday, and how far south does it get? Um, Look at some of the models, Joe, this afternoon. It kind of straddles the front right across Long Island, New York City, and across northern New Jersey for a short time on Thursday. I also am starting to think that that's a pretty decent trough that's swinging around from the Great Lakes into the Northeast for Friday, and we should be warm sectored by then. And I'm thinking that there might be a shot here for some showers and thunderstorms, and maybe some strong thunderstorms in the mix. We'll have to wait to see what we have when we get there, but I don't know. The pieces seem to be there for something to happen.
I got a little bit of a giggle looking at the National Weather Service forecast locally for tonight and tomorrow morning, Joe. They actually have a mention of sprinkles around
Yeah,
for tonight. I guess
there's a
they
little warm front there that's going to pass by
yeah,
to our north. Yeah.
and it would appear that although it's beautifully clear out there right now, and in fact, we're now getting into that time of the year where the sun briefly actually will make it and be able to shine into my office here. That doesn't happen. It only happens when it starts moving at a certain position north of due west. But it happened a couple of minutes ago. But it looks like, as you just mentioned, with the warm front moving in, we'll see a bit of cloud cover moving in probably later on this evening and be with us overnight. It looks like mostly a mid and high level cloud cover. And I guess, just to cover themselves, the Weather Service has mentioned the possibility, however small it may be, for a couple of spritzes and sprinkles here late tonight and early tomorrow. Probably, you know, less than a 10% chance of any one area getting it, but still, they've mentioned it. And then for tomorrow, we'll see temperatures recover back to uh, back to near seasonable for this time of the year. Seasonable now is something like 64, 65. And I don't know about
Well, for you.
any of the other folks. I don't know if anybody other, people on the chat board thought it was windy today. It was windy, at least up here in Putnam Valley. Renata put out her well, they're not really palm trees. I was corrected on that. They're called spike trees. They look like palm trees, but they got them. She's got them in these big, gigantic uh, pots, and you would think the pots are so heavy that they're going to stay straight up. This afternoon, the wind was so strong it knocked 4 of the 5 plants down
Oh,
flat, and we just decided the heck we're not even going to try to move them back up again until probably sometime this evening after the winds have abated. But we really had some strong gusty winds. I think we were right on the verge or edge of maybe a wind advisory, at least up here. I don't have an exact figure, but I think the winds were something like 35 or 40 mile per hour in gusts at times during this afternoon.
Yeah, a little, that storm to the east. I got the satellite up there on the on the screen now, and you see the low that's up to the northeast. A nice looking storm there, and wrapped up in eastern Canada. And you're also seeing these clouds coming in over the Great Lakes. They're sort of coming in over the top, and with the storm to the northeast of it, it's sort of arcing down into western New York, and those clouds are moving northwest to southeast. So yeah, you're clear now, but I imagine you're probably going to get into those high clouds. Yeah, I didn't really talk about a sprinkle or a shower tonight. You look at sometimes the models with this stuff, it shows it'll show a little bit of precip. It turns out that it's mostly aloft. So I just didn't think it was worth mentioning. And then, also up and down the East Coast today, it was just delightful. I mean, we had a beautiful day here in North Georgia. Just some high clouds, temperatures up in the middle and upper 70s. I actually went for a run today, which I haven't done in ages. And now we're starting to see. You look out in the west. There's a nice looking little shortwave there that has moved in to the west in Nevada. You see the rotation there and pulling up some tropical moisture into the Rockies. So it looks like there might be another round of some winter weather in parts of the west. And of course, you also see tropical moisture shooting up further south, down from lower Baja and across Mexico and into Texas and the southern plains. And this is going to set up a bit of severe weather risk for Tuesday.
And Bill Rogers on the chat board is asking about can you actually grow palm trees in this environment? And the thing is that during the winter season, we have all of those palm trees in the garage. We have a two-car garage, but I mean, like it's amazing how Renata figures out exactly how to put them so that they don't prevent us from actually getting the cars in there. But we made a decision over the weekend that we pretty well have reached that point now in the season where we needn't worry about frost conditions or freeze conditions or something that would lead to the ultimate demise of these tropical plants. So we have put them outside. Now the only thing we have to worry about between now and let's say late October, early November, is just keeping them upright on those days when we have very strong winds, as was the case up here today.
They're pseudo palm trees, is what, right?
Well, if she could type, I know she's on the chat board. There's some kind of the name that she gave me the other day was something like spike trees, and they look like palm trees from a distance, or if you're up next to them, but they're not palm trees. There's something else.
Yeah. How high? What was your high today? Because Bill Uber saying that for at least for Long Island, it barely got to 60. I thought it would probably. I thought it would have made 60 or a little better today, but I guess the air was a little colder than advertised.
I didn't look at the what our high was or what the readout on the weather station is. Mainly because I'm PO'd at the weather station. Well, you know why. I told you about this yesterday.
Yes.
I guess it was. If Renata's upstairs, if she wants to take a look and check out what the high temperature was up here today, and now she just went on the chat board and said those are spike plants, the kind that you put in the center of pots, but you grow enormous if you keep them year after year. And let me tell you, Joe, she has done that year after year after
Yeah.
year. They are now the biggest spike plant that we've ever had grew to something like 7 feet high. We finally just threw up our arms and said, "Hey, look, either we do something about this, or we just let it die." And so that was one plant. We left it out, and it actually stayed,
Murderer.
until like
You
December.
murderer.
It was December. So we kept it out. Finally, like in December, the leaves started coming down. The thing started limping, and finally, that was it for the spike plant. But those things can grow to enormous heights. I suppose in a nice tropical climate, you could just put them in the ground and away they go.
Yeah. A few of you have asked if JJ came on the run with me. Yes, he did. He's the one. Well, he's tired now, but I've been tired all afternoon. But my dog, if you don't run him, he will drive you crazy, and so he's all filled with energy. He just ran off on me a little while ago outside because he zeroed in on some squirrels on some neighbor's trees and tried to climb the darn things. He still hasn't figured out that he's not a cat, so he can't really climb the tree. But he's now he comes
Yeah.
from whenever we do the show. Let me see if I can move the camera. You could see him right there. There he is. He is there he is. Out like a light, sort of. Yeah, no, he's got one eye. He's got his eyes open. He's making sure I stay in the chair. He he loves to come and lay down and sleep during the show, which I think is testament to the quality of this programming here. Anyhow, uh, why don't we? What happened to my radar? I had the radar up here. Let me bring that up. Hold on. Oh, I was playing around with tropical tidbits earlier today, and now it's playing around with me. Okay, you know what? That's got the 18Z loaded, so I'm going to change it over here. So let's go to UCAR and see what I can bring up. Because the last time I looked at the radar today, there really wasn't a lot going on. And I imagine you see the local radar shot here. So let me just get that US. I always like to do a 3 hour loop for everybody.
Suddenly, everybody's all interested in Renata's spike plants. I'm getting all these questions on the chat board. Frank Riccio, how do you keep them alive all winter in the garage with no light? There is actually light. There we have a couple of windows in the garage, so during the daytime there's certainly plenty of light, not direct sunlight, but certainly enough light for them to survive. And while it's not the warmest, even on the coldest of days in the garage, I guess it's around 35 degrees or so. And more often than not in the winter, it's like in the 40s. So they certainly can survive in the garage through the winter months. But now it's time for them to, like the robin, Joe. They were to
Yes.
give a status update on the robin, but like the robin, it's time to push the spike plants out and let them take care of themselves in the elements for the next several months.
Right. The Robin's doing very well, by the way. He's very demanding. So I have, I feed him. I'm feeding him by hand now. So, I'm taking chunks of dog food, soaking it in water, and all proteins, because I'm not digging up worms, and I didn't feel like driving over to the bait and tackle shop and bringing home some night crawlers. So I did this. I did this once before. I just took some dog food and uh, in the dog food, there's dried chunks of chicken or lamb or whatever it is, and I soak it in warm water, and that's why you could just it absorbs the water, pulls it apart, and then you just kind of pull strands out, and you feed it into them like you like the mommy and daddy do with a worm, and it works brilliantly. The bird loves it, and in 2 days that bird has grown. It's going to mature very soon. So hopefully by the end of this week or this coming weekend, he can fly off. And if it's like the last one I had, he'll fly out and then hang around the house for about 2 or 3 weeks for me to continue feeding him by hand. But he'll just come in the morning and he'll come by whenever he wants some food, and then he'll go on his merry way or her merry way. Radar at the
Yes.
moment, by the way, it's unusually quiet. There's still some precip going on in easternmost Maine, right along the Canadian border, maybe near where Tim is. And there's also showers moving across the Great Lakes and seeing some showers, at least aloft in western New York and over Lake Erie. So that's this pseudo warm front that's going to set up to the north and go by overnight into tomorrow, and that's going to start to bring up the warm air into the eastern part of the United States. But you can see the radar just absolutely quiet as of 7:46 Eastern time, up and down the East Coast, all the way back to the Rockies. There's some action going on, of course, as we said, around the Great Lakes, and also seeing precipitation and some of this up in Wyoming and in Idaho. That's snow. Also into northern Utah, some showers down into parts of Arizona and into Southern California. The Northwest for now is mostly quiet. There's scattered showers occurring in parts of Nevada, California, and on up into the northwest. Also get some of that in Nevada and in eastern Oregon is falling in the form of snow. The Storm Prediction Center, our friends in Norman, Oklahoma. We'll take a look at what they're going for here. And of course, today they added a very tiny marginal risk of severe weather in South Dakota. You could see it there, very small, kind of an east-west band there of thunderstorm chances from the Rockies, well, west of the Rockies, actually, the Wasatch, and on up north into the northern Rockies, and then extending through the northern plains and into the western Great Lakes. Tomorrow, this is the area that they've been advertising since it was on day 6 in the long range on their long range forecast, and you're seeing it here. They've got a slight risk for much of central Texas, much of Oklahoma into southern Kansas, and the marginal risk kind of snakes up through the central plains and then arcs east across southern Minnesota, northern Iowa, and into parts of Wisconsin. Nothing going on at all in the eastern part of the United States, from Maine to Florida, back almost to the Mississippi River, and also to the west in the northwest and in the northern Rockies, the northern plains, and then back over through the southwest as well. Although there is some thunderstorm chances in Arizona and in eastern New Mexico and southern Utah and into Colorado. WPC's 7-day rainfall forecast map, which I just gave it a quick refresh to update it. So this takes us through next Monday. They've got mostly a quarter of an inch or less in terms of rainfall from southern New England down into Virginia and North and South Carolina. You start west of the Appalachians, though. That's where you start to get into the inch plus rains, and from central Texas in that risk zone through Oklahoma, northwestern Arkansas, southern Missouri into southern Illinois. You've got a 3-inch plus zone in there. Also, some precip here generated again in the Central Rockies, Wyoming, and northern Colorado. Then further east of the plains in much of the central and western Nebraska, bordering South Dakota. Precip much less now in the northwest and down also in southern California, a little bit of precip there, but much of the west is going to be on the dry side. So relatively non-eventful. You know what I should, Joe, see if you could pull up. You got the sharing capability. See if you could pull up the drought maps for the Northeast, because I saw something that said that things are getting awfully dry in much of the Northeast. Uh,
We'll do
can
so.
you do that? And then let me know when you have it. I'll
Yeah.
just okay, and I'll just start to run through here on the latest GFS model, and you see the little area of showers over the Great Lakes significantly weakens as it moves eastward. So now all of a sudden, now this model is not bringing any showers in. And of course, tomorrow, with the low in Canada moving east of Nova Scotia, between Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, so we're obviously out of the gradient. We're going to have a west-southwest wind tomorrow. That should help to warm things up nicely. Thickness has really come up nicely too. So I think we should be able to get to 70 or a little bit better tomorrow, I would imagine. And further south, it's going to be reaching up into the 80s from central Virginia on southward down into Georgia and, of course, in Florida. You can see there's a low that develops there in eastern Colorado, producing rain and snow for later tomorrow and tomorrow night. And that low runs up northeast. It doesn't really do very much. And you see also that the model is generating some precip there tomorrow in Oklahoma and Texas, so that probably reflects the possibility of some thunderstorms there. You have to be really careful sometimes when you use the models, you use the GFS or the European in trying to show severe weather, because oftentimes it doesn't really grasp the magnitude of the shower and thunderstorm activity, or it doesn't really do it as well as it should. Meanwhile, watching here in the east on Wednesday, that's the day I think we go to 80 with the west wind. We've got the low, a low that's going to be over Lake Ontario Wednesday afternoon that moves into central Massachusetts, and there's a little bit of a front here. It's not very obvious, but it's right about there. Kind of drew it in and it's an east-west front with another low that forms in eastern Iowa. And of course, on Wednesday, you've got the GFS actually showing what looks like a rather large area of severe weather. So I imagine tomorrow it'll be in their range out of the long range period, and we probably will see them maybe add some risk here. No, actually, this is so Wednesday into Thursday. That should have been in their day 3 forecast. So that they didn't have anything there yet. So maybe they're going to put something in there. We'll see. And this backdoor front, it's kind of tricky because it's weak. So it sort of comes through, but then it just then it just starts to run back up as a warm front. Now I don't know, Joe. Do you believe this? Because by Thursday afternoon, there are some showers that the GFS develops over northern Pennsylvania. I'm going to switch to the radar view here and see if it, because that's precip. So let's switch to the radar view. I mean, it does have a fair amount of showers here that develop on Thursday. As that front comes down, then it goes back up as a warm front. I don't know. Do you go with this, or did you put them in your forecast for Thursday?
I do have showers, scattered showers in for Thursday and also for Friday. Incidentally, I was kind of surprised that the Storm Prediction Center placed our area in general thunderstorm coverage for late Wednesday into I guess Wednesday night and Thursday, early Thursday. They have it reaching just up into our area, so a little bit of convection maybe thrown in.
Well,
Or you think that
I mean, you look at this. There's the low that runs from on Wednesday from Lake Huron across upstate New York. Now maybe this sets off convection in upstate New York and in northern New England with the low going by to the north of us. And then you got this warm front that comes by. I don't know. I'm not especially bullish with the idea of some thunderstorms. I suppose if you look at if you look at the precip shield, the way it's set up, there's this little arm that comes down through central New York into north central PA. Maybe there's a couple of thunderstorms in there, but they fall up. The GFS loses them, and then this front sits on top of us Thursday morning. So if you're in southern New Jersey, southern Pennsylvania, and particularly if you're down in Virginia, North Carolina with a west wind, you're fine. But right along that immediate boundary zone, there's probably going to be some cloud issues, and then the front goes back up as a warm front. And I don't know, Joe. You look at this Friday morning, we've got a nice west southwest, pretty solid west southwest gradient here with a low up to the north of Plattsburgh, and a trailing cold front that runs down all the way down to the Gulf states. Um, Maybe there might be some decent daytime heating on Friday to set off some showers and storms late in the day Friday and Friday night. At least this model seems to be indicating that. Also, the other thing I'd point out, there is some colder air coming in behind it. I don't think this is quite like what we had last week with the severe weather setup, but there is going to be there might be some, you know, a temperature gradient where somebody's in the 70s on one side and maybe in the 40s on the other, come Thursday night and on Friday. So I'm sorry, come Friday. But I don't know. This front kind of looks interesting to me.
Well, I can tell you that from what I looked at least around here, around the Hudson Valley area, that we're going to have a noticeable decline in the temperature behind that front. I have a high, or I set a high here on Friday, somewhere around, I don't know, 67, 68 degrees. Maybe New York City hits 70 on Friday, but I also have showers, and I said more clouds than sun on I didn't go mostly cloudy or overcast on Friday, more clouds and sun, some breaks of sunshine. I did not mention anything about convection yet for Friday, but behind this on Saturday, I think we're going to look at sunny to partly cloudy weather. And I think temperatures on Saturday are going to go down a good 8 to 10 degrees from Friday, and also a bit of a breeze. We may see once again, as we saw today, some rather gusty winds blowing in here during the course of the day on your Saturday. So significant changes, I think, with that front. as we close out the week. And actually, we make the transition, Joe, from April on Friday to May on Saturday.
Yeah, I just pulled up the digital forecast for temperatures for Thursday, so I'm going to see if I can get this to load. Now here's Wednesday, which I think is pretty much set. So we're seeing 81 for New York City, 85, 86 for Philadelphia, 86 for Baltimore, 88 for Washington, Boston 67. So I guess a little bit of a sea breeze there, because remember that system is going to be moving from Lake Ontario to Western Massachusetts. So that's where your frontal boundary is. And you go further north from there, you see where the cooler temperatures are up in northern New England, relatively speaking, in the 60s there. And also some sea breeze action on the east end of Long Island and the south facing shorelines of Connecticut and southeastern New England, where temperatures are only in the 60s and 50s. But look at these 80s going all the way down through Virginia, North Carolina, 89 in Richmond, 87 um, I'm not sure if that's Charlottesburg in between. But I'm not sure what that is. I shouldn't guess what that 87 is. Lynchburg is 86. 86 for Roanoke, Blacksburg 81, mid and upper 80s across North Carolina, mid 80s in South Carolina, mid 80s most of Georgia. There's an 80 print for me, so that's what's nice about it is that air is dry. The dew points are not really anything to write home about, so that's good. It won't be humid here. It's springtime, so the atmosphere hasn't had time to get that tropical humidity going. On Thursday, interestingly enough, on Thursday, Joe, the numbers are lower, but I would have thought that they would have been maybe lower than what's being indicated here. So there's still good. It still gives 76 for New York City and low 70s for the Hudson Valley and into Connecticut. 80s though, Central and South Jersey southward. So you can see, that's where they're in the warm air. So I'm thinking, you go there south, you're going to be, still in that warmer air in the 80s. But 60s not that far to the north when you get up into the Hudson Valley on Thursday. So that's that weak frontal boundary that sets up. Let's see what they did for Friday on the new digital forecast. So yeah, they're a little cooler, Joe, on Friday. So this might be because of clouds. 70 in New York City, 73 for Philadelphia, Baltimore 73, Washington 74, 60s on Long Island. I'm going to pull up. I want to just kind of take a look at this. Let's take a look at the dew points. And if it will load.
Load.
Load already, for God's sake, load. You can wait for it to become responsive or exit the page. I will wait. So this is a Weather Service issue. Of course, when I'm loading the map on the air, this is what it does. Oh,
Off air,
good.
it comes up like
Oh,
boom,
now
boom,
it's
boom. Right?
now it's loading. I'm just kind of curious to see what kind of dew points it has. You know what? There's an easier way. I'll do it this way. We'll look at what the GFS has for dew points. There. I have solved the issue. Hey, Joe, I mean, Friday dew points here get up into the 60s. With
Yeah,
that
right.
ahead of that front.
Yeah, and as I said, not yet. I'm not ready to pull the whistle string yet for convection or possible thunderstorms or even possible severe weather on Friday. I'll wait another day or so. But yeah, and then we start talking about you know what the Cape values are and whether or not we might see something along the lines of severe. But there are possibilities for Friday as we close out the week. Incidentally, Joe, maybe you ought to mention that this week we are juggling the schedule a little bit for the end of the week.
Right.
Normally we take off on Friday, but we will be here on Friday.
Right, because you have something to do on Thursday. So I'll, if the weather calls for it, I may solo a short show on Thursday, and then you and I can uh, uh, do Friday. Okay.
Yeah, well, I gave you the option. Option one was you go solo. Option two was we just say the heck with it for Thursday and do Friday. But if you'd like to come back and do Thursday, um, sans yours truly, you can.
All right. Well,
Uh,
let's yeah, let's put let's let it float and let's see what happens when we get there. But chances are we'll skip. We'll be off Thursday and then we'll be back on Friday. But I'm gonna leave the door open in case there's a severe potential for a severe weather threat for Friday. I will I'll jump on solo. But you can see the dew points here. They shoot up fairly nicely. Just let's bring up the F Gen, and I know it's early in the game on the GFS. There is some Omega out to the west. That by Friday evening, actually, there's a fair amount of Omega. The 700 millibar is a fair amount of Omega right along the, running from central New England right down into central North Carolina. So that's not too shabby there. And
yeah.
I also like to look at that 700 millibar vorticity and wind to see if we get those little. Well, there's a nice little jet there, Joe. There's a nice little 50 to 70 knot jet that moves through Thursday afternoon into Thursday evening, and then a stronger one that follows with the actual frontal passage sometime Friday night. So I'm gonna lean on the idea that this could be another marginal risk type situation that SPC may get around to. You know how they love to listen to us, Joe.
Well, we'll at the moment everything is for Friday. Predictability is too low, but you're right. As we move along, they tend to start increasing the potential threat. So who's to say that by the time we get to the end of the week, we will indeed be under some kind? Hey, if we go on Friday, we might be right in the middle of a little bevy of thunder and lightning here. So we'll see.
Strong blocking high to the north on the upper air at the end of the week, and you can see it pretty plainly. I'll outline it for you, but right in here, right over Greenland, there's an upper high, and that's forced some troughing. A rather nice looking long wave. That's a long wave trough, folks. That's what a long wave looks like. uh, where you got a lot of amplitude and covering a long distance from an upper low sitting in Hudson Bay. The bottom of that trough is all the way down into the southwestern Gulf of Mexico. So that's a pretty long wave trough. That lifts out as we go through the weekend. You still see that upper high that's sitting over Greenland, but the upper low in eastern Canada moves northwestward through the Davis Strait underneath that upper high. So actually, we get into a little bit of a ridge position going into next week. And I'm looking at this, Joe. It looks fairly warm for the first few days of May, if this is correct, with the trough pulling out and the pressures aloft rising in the eastern part of the United States. Is a 585 height in southern New Jersey by next Wednesday. So that's warm. And
Yes, it
much like
is.
what we're seeing this week. And then another trough dives in behind it late next week. Still, you got higher than normal pressures across much of Canada and back up into the North Atlantic. So that might force another trough eventually to come down into the eastern part of the United States. One thing I will say, as we get deeper into the month of May, if we're still seeing these deep troughs diving down into the eastern part of the United States with very cold air aloft, those are going to be potential severe weather triggers at some point, I think.
Well, we'll see.
For the East, anyway. It's
Yeah, and I think
it's my little old
I,
never to be humble opinion.
and I think after the passage of that system on Friday night, again, I think that we're going to see winds rather similar to what we went through today up here. Maybe not wind advisory criteria, but close to it. Some gusty winds here on Saturday, along with some sunshine and much cooler temperatures as compared to what we're going to be seeing later in the week. I think we'll probably be dropping back to levels like what we saw here today.
You got
And you just put on the screen, Joe.
yeah, you got the drought
You
maps
just
up.
put on the screen the yeah, that's That's the latest drought map. Now you could see in the New York City metropolitan area, the immediate New York City area, and Long Island, we have nothing. We have no drought worries. However, you don't have to go too far to the north and east to get into the zone of yellow. Yellow indicates is D0, which is abnormally dry. And then as you get further north and east, up into, let's say, the states of Vermont, southern sections of New Hampshire, and far northern New York State, the Adirondacks, we get into a situation where it's considered to be D1, moderate drought. We also have moderate drought indicated for parts of western New York and also for northwestern sections of Pennsylvania. That's about as bad as it gets right now. We're not yet seeing any areas that have severe drought or extreme drought, although that is plentiful if you go out to the western part of the country, the western United States. In fact, if I can just change the drought monitor here, let's show you what it's like out west, and it's not very pretty. In fact, it's pretty darn dry out there. You take a look. My goodness, you of course have many areas with abnormally dry conditions or moderate drought. This zone right here, the red, that is D3. That's extreme drought, and this dark shade of red, which covers a good part of lower Nevada, southern sections of Utah, northern Arizona, and portions of New Mexico, and a stripe, a thin stripe of southern California. That is, um, excuse me, that is extreme drought. And so it is not looking, actually, the red is extreme drought. This dark shade here is exceptional drought. So they are in dire straits and desperately need precipitation in this zone here. But unfortunately, the wet season, the rainy season, has come and gone now, and the only precipitation that this zone usually gets between now and, let's say, next October or November are going to be the seasonal monsoon rains in Arizona, New Mexico, and portions of Utah and lower Nevada. They get these heavy duty showers and storms which pop up. Again, a seasonal thing that won't come until July or August. So it looks like it's going to be pretty bone dry in this part of the country, unfortunately, as I said, for a number of weeks and months to come.
Keith James II says, "Why do some thunderstorms produce hail and others don't? Would cold air aloft mean more hail with thunderstorms in May?" And Captain Nebulous gave a not so nebulous answer, which is more cold air aloft typically encourages a higher chance of hail so long as there is sufficient descent. In other words, the rising air, the lifting that goes ahead of it. But yeah, when you get these cold upper lows like this time of year that come down and trigger off thunderstorms, you have a fair chance of seeing some hail in the mix. So there's your answer. It was
At this time of the year, you normally at this time of the year, April, May, sometimes March, you get what some forecasters call hailers, where you get the pea-sized hail in these cold upper level systems. And we actually saw some of that last week, Joe. We
yes,
had, and it's interesting. The Storm Prediction Center did not have any hail outlined for us per se, but I think what they were they only put hail down when they think that hail is going to reach, let's say, an inch or greater. That does not cover, for example, what many folks, let's say in Brooklyn last week saw, or even parts of the Hudson Valley, where the hail was more like pea-sized or pebble-sized. Uh, that certainly was in evidence last week, and who's to say? It looks very somewhat similar on Friday to what we had last week. So we may be seeing on Friday, the end of the week, a nice little round of severe weather in terms of both, heavy rain, strong gusty winds, and yeah, maybe even a touch of hail as well, and maybe even an isolated tornado.
well, you mentioned that too because on the severe weather outbreak late last week was kind of funny because the overnight forecast actually put a 2% chance of tornadoes over northern New Jersey, northeastern Pennsylvania, the lower and middle Hudson Valley into western Connecticut. Then when they updated the forecast, they took that out and wound
Yeah.
up that there was a confirmed EF0 in, was it an EF0, I think, in southern Dutchess County, and an
I think it
EF
was an EF. I think it
an
was an EF1.
EF1, an EF1 in southern Dutchess County, and another tornado in neighboring Litchfield County on the Connecticut side, and EF0 there. So it's always kind of tricky trying to nail that down because you're talking, so you're really talking small scale stuff here. So I'm not mentioning that they took it out as a mode of criticism, but uh, I think there were reasons why you put it in, and I think there were good also reasons why as a forecaster you might have taken it out. So then of course reality decides who winds up getting the successful forecast or not. Is it true, Joe Rayo asked Johnny Quest, that updrafts of 100 miles an hour, you need updrafts of about 100 miles an hour to produce grapefruit size hail, a grapefruit size hailstorm?
Oh,
I would imagine you
I,
would.
I don't know of grapefruit size, but I do know that some years ago here in the Hudson Valley, we actually had a one particular severe weather outbreak where a storm produced hail on the order of tennis ball sized hail, uh, which is about as large as I think I've ever heard or seen in this part of the country in this area. But it did happen. It kind of makes me wonder, Joe, before they invented golf balls, what did they use to determine the size of hailstones?
I don't know. I don't know. Do you have a Briller Jeopardy? Because I don't.
Yes, yes, I do.
Okay,
Briller
so
Jeopardy for you on Monday, today.
yeah, I'm liking
And
these
here it is.
these 10 top 10 things that we've been doing lately. They've been
All
fun.
right. Well, this is not a top 10. This is more like a top 8. There are 8 states in this wonderful country that we live in that have had a record low of 60 below zero. This, I presume, is Fahrenheit or lower. Can you name them? Baseball rules apply. 3 strikes and you're out. No particular order for the answers, but there are 8 states that have had record lows of at least 60 degrees or lower below zero Fahrenheit.
All
What
right.
are those 8 states, Joe?
All right. So let's start with Montana.
Montana is on the list. It is number 5.
All right. I'm writing these down so I can keep track. Let's go to the first state to give women the right to vote, Wyoming.
Wyoming is on the list barely. It is at the bottom of the list at number 8, but it is there.
Okay, so the number we're looking for is minus 60, right?
60 below or lower.
Okay, so let's now go to North Dakota.
North Dakota is on the list. They are right below Montana at number 6.
Okay, let's go to Minnesota.
Minnesota is above Montana. It is number 4 on the list.
I'm sorry,
And all you have to think about is
where was North Dakota on this?
number 6.
Number 6. And Wyoming was number 8, correct?
Correct.
All right, I'll
With
squeeze.
Minnesota, all you have to think about is
Yeah.
International Falls.
All
And
right, so
you got it
let's
right there.
squeeze in South Dakota.
Strike 1.
All right, so that eliminates that. So I've
It's
got
that
Montana, Wyoming, North Dakota, and Minnesota. All right, so let's go now to the other side of this, and let's go to Maine.
strike 2.
Really? All right, I would have thought maybe with one of those big gigantic highs. All right, now it becomes tough.
Well,
Hmm.
Caribou, I would have thought would have gotten down that low, and a couple of spots in the Northeast, I would think would get as low as that. But see, I just
Yeah.
gave it away. I obviously I'm going to take you away from picking a
Well,
Northeastern
you know
state.
what? I think New York's low. I think Old Forge is like minus 54 was. I think that number sticks in my head for some reason. All right,
Yeah,
so let's
yeah.
see. I'll go. Hmm. Northern Idaho sticks up pretty far north, and I'm just wondering whether that, you get a really brutal cold air mass to come down to the west. Um, but God,
Well, is that
that's
your final
I,
answer?
I don't know. No, no. And I'm also thinking maybe in North, but Wyoming is the bottom one. That would well, that would kind of say to me that Colorado probably wouldn't be on there. So South Dakota was not on there. So, hmm. Minnesota was there. I was Iowa there. See, this is. I'll say. So I got four, so it's got to be a four. So I'll say. I'll say Iowa.
You're out.
All right. So let me just say, was Idaho on that?
Idaho, yes.
Okay.
Idaho is
Wait,
number
wait, wait.
three on
Okay.
this.
So what about Wisconsin?
Wisconsin was not on the list.
Really? Um,
I would suppose its proximity to Lake Superior probably made
well, that's why yeah, and
Wisconsin.
that's why I didn't pick Michigan.
Yeah,
So Michigan's not there either.
it's not there either.
All right.
Either the UP or the LP.
So, gee, I mean,
You've missed out on the most obvious one, I think. Remember, we're doing all 50 states, Joe.
oh, Alaska. Okay. You got to
Oh,
remind me.
Alaska.
Yeah, you got to remind me that we're talking all 50 states. Okay, so there's
Yes.
so that's six. So Idaho's not there. I can't imagine Washington, Oregon, or
Wait a
California
minute.
being in there.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. What made you say
I'm
that
sorry,
Idaho was not in
Idaho
there?
is there. I'm sorry. Idaho is
Right.
there. Montana, Wyoming,
Right.
North Dakota, Minnesota, Idaho, Alaska. So there's two left. I mean, I don't know. No, Nevada maybe. I don't know. Northern Nevada. Are we out of the
Is that your
Northeast?
final answer?
No, it's not. I mean, the other thing is okay.
No, I will tell you. I'll tell you. No northeastern state is on
Okay,
this list of 8.
all right. So, and Iowa is not on there. You know what? We'll be here all night. It's just two states. Go ahead and give them to me. I give up.
Actually, the one of the 2 states is a 4-letter state.
Utah?
If it's not Iowa, it's got to be Utah. Yes,
Really?
Utah. Believe it or
Utah?
not.
Utah? Yes, but Idaho? No. Okay. Well, that's minus 60. I guess that was
No,
enough.
no,
I'm
Idaho.
sorry. I keep
No,
saying
Idaho is
no.
in there.
Idaho's in there. Okay. I'm sorry. I keep going back to that.
Yes.
I meant Iowa
Yeah.
was okay. Utah. What's the other one?
Colorado.
Colorado. Oh, okay.
So Alaska,
I guess what
Colorado,
threw me
Idaho,
off with
Minnesota, Montana, North Dakota.
yeah. Well, I guess what threw me off was that
You,
Wyoming was number 8 on there, and then Colorado would rank higher. But I guess that happens sometimes. Whatever topography. We don't know where in the state that these temperatures were measured. By the way.
by the way, on Friday on MeTV, they had the your favorite and my favorite Bugs Bunny baseball Bugs.
Oh, left field,
He
Bugs
has
Bunny.
the
Right
argument.
field, Bugs Bunny. Shortstop, Bugs Bunny.
Right. No, my favorite in that episode is when he's having the argument with the umpire. He's safe. You're out. You're
Right.
out. You're out. And so
Right.
I say he's safe. If you don't like it, you can go to the showers. All right, Doc. We'll go with you. I'm safe.
Doesn't the Statue of Liberty say some have a say in that particular cartoon?
Yes, at the end
At the
when
end, you heard what the man said, didn't you?
the you know whose voice that is.
No, whose was it? Was it B. Benaderet?
B.
Yeah,
Benaderet did that voice of the Statue of Liberty.
yeah. She did a lot of those
Of course,
cartoons,
Bugs
uncredited.
uncredited.
Yes.
Right. Bugs had to climb the umpire state building to get that fly ball.
Naturally, yes.
Hey Mac, you're going. Hey Mac, you're going the wrong way.
Oh, too funny. Okay. What was the coldest temperature ever recorded on Mount Washington? That's a good question. I guess it's not minus 60.
Oh, I guess if it was, I guess New Hampshire would have been on that list, but
Yeah.
apparently it wasn't. Unless there's something about you know sea. Oh, here the chairman says Mount Washington minus 50. Like, can you believe that? Old Forge probably was colder than Mount Washington,
Yeah, but
but of course then,
Mount Washington always has some kind of a wind going. Whereas
yeah,
Old Forge on I think when it hit that was some like crazy high up in upstate New York in the wintertime, like a 1050-ish high or something, and the bitter
I
those the bitter cold air that results out of that with radiational with radiational cooling near the high center.
if it wasn't the date or the scenario that you're just describing, I was on duty the morning before the President's Day storm in 1979. And I can tell you for a fact that Old Forge, a number of places up in upstate New York were incredibly cold. I think Old Forge was something like minus 50 or minus 52 degrees
Yeah,
that morning.
that yeah
That was a
that was brutal. Yeah, it takes a brutal air mass to pull that off, and just the right setup. And yeah, there have been instances where you get upstate New York, especially around I-90 and points north, where it's like minus 20, minus 30, or lower. So it does happen from time to time. Hasn't happened too much recently, but it does happen from time to time. Okay,
I'm
so
I'm just Joe. I'm going to send I'm going to send you via Messenger um, the link. If anybody is interested, the reason why we're not having a show on Thursday is that I'm giving a talk uh, for the which library is it? I've got so many of them here. Scarsdale, the Scarsdale Library at 7 o'clock on Thursday. What I'm calling astrometeorology. How to the talk is basically, is it possible that you can make long range forecasts using the sun, sunspots, positioning of the moon, the planets, or whatever, or is that just a lot of hooey? And so what I want to do is I want to send you the link. If anybody's interested and wants to attend that talk virtually, you can do so. Ba, 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 hang on, and I just sent it to you. So if you want to put that on the chat board, Joe, and if anybody's interested, they can just simply use that link, sign in, and they can come on Thursday evening and hear the talk. And you can heckle me too.
all right. Uh, Joe, do me a favor because I got this endless. It's the Scarsdale Library. I'll pull up the link myself here. Scarsdale Library, and I'll put it on there. See if I can find it. I the Because whenever you send something on Messenger or through Facebook, uh, it adds a ton of stuff to the URL. Uh, let's see, by topic, technology classes. I don't know if it's on.
Really?
I don't know if it's under there.
I just I just put the URL up. I know it's not a direct link, but I mean, if anybody wants to just copy the URL and then they can figure it out for themselves, it's on the chat board here. So, and there
Uh,
you are.
yeah, I'm having trouble here. Hang on, let me try it. And of course, they don't make it easy. Uh, oh, here
Wile
we
E.
go. I got it.
Coyote,
Hang on. Let's
super genius.
copy. Let's see if this works. And
I'll
pray,
give you the
brethren.
customary two
Yep,
minutes.
I got it. Okay, good. This is the short version.
Oh,
I figured it out. Okay. So here's the link, folks. It's coming up on the chat board now for your enjoyment and your convenience. So uh, head over there, and this way you can be part of the Joe Rayo virtual presentation on Thursday. April 29th from 7 p.m. to 8:30. And that is a wrap for tonight. So you and I will be back tomorrow
Yes.
night. We'll be back tomorrow night at 7:30 Eastern Time. Thanks everybody for being here. Everyone be well, and we'll see you tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Good night.